So, right, so first and foremost, and I give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yehoshai, Ba'ashem Kakodash. We say the Lord, person, elders, agreements, and who our teachers, our person is truth, and we see salutations so they can push with no truth and sincerity, day in and day out, on a constant day, in season or season, we say Shalom. Once again, going into a video here, and this is basically touching upon some news, right? Some news that just happened. And it's a Washington AP. It says Elon Musk leaves Trump's administration after turbulent effort to slash government, AP source says. So Elon Musk has just left the Trump administration, right? And I know while he was there was a bunch of news, a bunch of things that he was doing, right? A bunch of things that was coming out. But we have to pay attention to what this person stated here. And one of the things that was stated is, going into the MOTV, right? Now, I would like to bring forward the scripture. This is the book of Ecclesiastes chapter 39, verse 1. It says, But he that giveth his mind to the law of the Most High, and is occupied in meditation thereof, will seek out the wisdom of all the ancient, and be occupied in prophecies. And that is how we're supposed to be. We're supposed to be occupied in prophecies, right? Let me just do a quick Google search. When you look at the word occupied, all right, occupied meaning it's a busy and active, right? To fill or preoccupy the mind, right? I say fill or preoccupy the mind, keep someone busy and active, right? It says if something occupies you, or if you occupy yourself, your time or your mind with it, you are busy doing that thing or thinking about it, right? You are busy doing that thing or thinking about it. So, going back to the scripture, it says, But he that giveth his mind to the law of the Most High, and is occupied in meditation thereof, will seek out the wisdom of all the ancient, and be occupied in prophecy. So that is always supposed to be, always thinking, always meditating, right? Keeping your mind on the prophecies. That is why it's such an important thing to you continue to watch the news, you continue to take in brothers' videos and so forth and so on. Always being in the scriptures, right? And seeing that he left. Now this part here is such an important thing, because while he was there, he made sure certain laws was passed, right? It's a refugee status of thousands of South Africans. It's a FDA approval for his brain chip. Now I want to repeat that again, right? Now, as you can see on the screen, it have a tick, and the tick is the things that he did, right? And someone mentioned that what the purpose, well, how I should put it, the so-called purpose that he was put there for, he didn't do anything of that. But what he did was things that he wanted to do, and we know that the agenda that he's going to push, and that is to push that MOTV, that brain chip, right? Because he is one of the guys that he's mentioned a couple of times, that he want to make humans cyborgs, right? He have his company is Neuralink, and they have already put chips inside of humans, inside of people, right? So it's a FDA approval for his brain chip, Starlink expansion, fire any and every agency investigating his companies. It's did the exact opposite of what he was hired to do, right? And that is basically what was mentioned just now. He didn't do what he was hired to do, but what he fulfilled was the important, basically what he was set up to do. He made sure that it was passed, which was to get the FDA approval for his brain chip, right? And the Starlink expansion. Now, if you go into that, his internet, Starlink is his internet, and He's putting that internet. He's putting that internet to places that would have never gotten internet before, or very rural areas. He's putting his technology there, right? His internet there, which, as you can see, if you do a little more research, you can see the tracking and so forth that he does with that. But it's to all link up with his chip, right? It's to all link up with his chip. And that goes to show why the scriptures talk about not trusting your enemies. Because let's go to the book of Surah. Let me get it here quick. The book of Surah, chapter Surah chapter 12, verse 10. It say here, it said, never trust thine, never trust thine enemy, for like as iron rusted, so is his wickedness. Because again, he had a job to fulfill, and he did that, right? As you can see, the FDA approval of his brain chip, and that is a major prophecies, and that is why I start with the scripture to be occupied in prophecies, because that brain chip part is it goes into a very major prophecy, which goes into what the MOTB, right? And he has already mentioned a couple of times that he wants everyone to be chipped, right? To be chipped. I wonder if I have that article here where he said that. Nah, I don't have it, but he has said a couple of times that everyone, he said that everyone should have a chip inside of them, and that having a chip would make their life easier, right? There's a man that he's dealing with. So going back to the book of Ecclesiastes chapter 12, verse 10, it says, never trust thine enemy, for like as iron rusted, so is his wickedness. Right? And soon, right, you're going to see this thing become mandatory, right? Because you're already seeing the system changing, things becoming they want to say we call it a digital society. We see in the 15-minute cities, we're seeing people that are actually lining up, right? Lining up to get this to get chipped. We in that time, right? And even though when I listen to some of his interviews, and some of his press conferences and so forth, he talks about helping, and his internet would help, and his chip would help. You see some of the Neuralink advertisements, and they're talking about a paralyzed person, being able to walk, being able to feel. They could use telepathic powers and all these things that they're talking about, right? And it sounds good, but that is just how Satan has made things sound. Make things sound sweet, but there's always something behind it, right? So verse 11, it said, though he humble himself and go crouching, yet take good heed and beware of him, and thou shalt be unto him as if thou hast wiped a looking glass, and thou shalt know that his rust had not been altogether wiped away. So, and again, you think about it, iron must rust, right? So your enemy, that wickedness will always be there. And we know Esau have that perpetual hatred for us. But when Elon Musk, I remember when Elon Musk, he get the position from Donald Trump, who was celebrating it the most? Jake. Jake was in the midst celebrating that, the future of technology is here, right? As I always say, when I watch Israel talk about Elon Musk, they just consider him like the real world Iron Man, right? So they watch him as some big figure, a figure that they look up to, because when some years ago, when he first announced his brain chip, right? When he first announced his brain chip, it had certain celebrities, Israelite celebrities, that they were the first to jump up and say, you know what, they're ready for it. you know, they should go and take it. You know, Jakes was talking about going and take it, going and lining up to go and take it, and so forth. So you could see they already trust the enemies, right? And they're going to take that MOTB, you know, fall into it. So you see verse 12, it says, set him not by thee, lest when he had overthrown thee, he stand up in thy place, neither let him sit at thy right hand, lest he seek to take thy seat. And thou at the last remember my words, and be pricked therewith. He say, who will pity a charmer that is bitten with a serpent, or any such as come nigh wild beasts? Right? It says, so one that goeth to a sinner, and is defiled with him in his sins, who will pity? Right? Who will pity? It says, for a while he will abide with thee, but if thou begin to fall, he will not tarry. It says, an enemy speaketh sweetly with his lips, but in his heart he imagined how to throw thee into a pit. He will weep with his eyes, but if he find opportunity, he will not be satisfied with blood. Right? So we're not supposed to be trusting our enemies at all, and Esau is our enemy. Right? Because just as this person stated here, which is right, you could just do a little research. It's a fire any and every agency investigating his companies, because there's a lot of stuff when it goes into his brain chip, right, that he was covering up. Like some of the chips, like he implanted some of the chips in animals, right? And previous, I think they even said previous people, but I will just go with the animals for now, because you know on YouTube they will say misinformation, but there are plenty articles and so forth outside there that show that all of the animals that took it got sick, right? Got sick. Who he tried to implant it into, they got sick, you know, died and so forth. So when he came into power, he got rid of certain organizations that was actually investigating his companies, right? And that goes to show we're not supposed to be trusting our enemies, but remember to be occupied in prophecy, right? Because he got the FDA to approve it, right? He got the FDA to approve it, which we already know. There wasn't they ain't going on disapprove it or whatever it may be, because that is the next thing to come. You know, these chips is the next big thing to come, right? And it's going to be a block near you. Now, where does that fall into? It falls into what? Which prophecy? The MOTB, the mark of the beast, right? Let's go to that quick. The book of Revelation, chapter 13, verse 16. And he calls it all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, right? It say, and he calls it all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads. And go and look up, right? Go and look up the Neuralink. If you don't know or you're still in believing, go and look up the Neuralink, and you will see where they are implementing it, right? It say, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. Here is wisdom. Let him that had understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666, which goes into what? 666, right? But it say, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. So yes, so you'd be able to function in society as was Klaus Schwab that said what, or Bill or BG, they know the Gates, right? I believe it was one of them said that that if you don't have, you know, what they are bringing, you'll become an outcast to society, right? You'll become an outcast because you wouldn't be able to function in society. And that goes with this. If you don't have the mark of the beast, you wouldn't be able to function. You wouldn't be able to buy or sell, right? And this is a guy that got his chip FDA approved, and he left. As this person say, he did the exact opposite of what he was hired to do. Actually, he did what he was hired to do. You know, He did what he was hired to do. He made sure and got it done, right? So you could see where we are heading into. So always remember to be what? To be occupied in prophecies, because little things like this you're seeing happening, right? And I'm sure he's going to do more, what he would say, because he more patience and so forth will come out, and he was, a bunch of things going to happen, right? Right, reading some of these comments here. This Jake say what? Oh, it's about to get ugly. Yeah, it's about to get ugly for you all. It's about to get very ugly for you all. It say, laughing my ass off, I told you all, wouldn't even last to the midway point of the year, because he did what was needed to do. Jake still caught up on the scriptures call him sottish. Jake just foolish, right? Say Elon pulled up, collected all the government perks like it was a Black Friday sale, then dipped before accountability could knock. Man played the whole administration like a side quest. Nah, he didn't. He fulfilled what was needed to be done. And I'm glad that this was the first comment that I saw. This person showing what it is he did, and they made sure and showed that the FDA approval for his brain chip, right? So, hey, once again, I give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Kakodash. We say that when supposed and elders agreements and rural teachers of personal truth, and we see salutations so they are coming to the push within on truth and sincerity, day in and day out, and constantly in season and season, we say, Shalom.